Once you are sober enough to look at this world, without being drugged by the beautiful lies they feed you, you will see a reality that is ice cold. Every society, since the dawn of time, has operated on a food chain. Only the camouflage changes. The poor consume plants and animals to survive, but the elite, they consume the time, the faith, and the life force of the poor to maintain their throne. It is not a sin, it's the law of nature. The strong absorb the energy of the weak, just as the sky absorbs the mist to keep the cycle turning. In the world of the weak, morality is hollowed out and turned into a god. When a man loses the power to change his reality, he starts creating illusions to comfort himself. Ethics, justice, fairness. These sacred words become nothing but a shield for his own impotence. The weak talk about morality, not because they are good, but because they are afraid. There is no such thing as a clean snowflake. No winner is pure. There are only those strong enough to stand tall between the blood and the tears. The illusion of purity only exists in the minds of those who dare not look into their own darkness. This world doesn't belong to the preachers. It belongs to the awakened, those who can lead with an iron fist, yet keep their soul intact. Morality won't save the weak, and knowledge won't kill the strong. Only the sober survive the hunt. Welcome to the invisible driver, where there are truths that society doesn't want you to know. Once you peel back the skin of our polite, modern society, you'll find a mechanism that hasn't changed since the Stone Age. We like to call it civilization, but in reality, it's a food chain. And in this chain, energy is the only currency that matters. In the wild, a predator kills for meat. In the modern world, the predator kills for something far more valuable: your time. Every structure you see around you, the glass skyscrapers, the banking systems, the corporate ladders, they are all designed for one thing: the extraction of life force. Think about the word mortgage. Most Americans spend 30 years of their lives chasing it. But look at the etymology. It comes from Old French, mort, meaning death, and gage, meaning pledge. A death pledge. You aren't buying a home. You are pledging your vital energy from the ages of 25 to 55, just to have a roof over your head. You are the resource being consumed, one mortgage payment at a time.
And the 401k? It's a brilliant camouflage. It keeps you tethered to a desk, feeding the market with your present labor, while they promise you a few crumbs of freedom when you're too old to enjoy it. This is the anatomy of the world. The elite don't work for money. They create systems that eat the time of those who do. The lesson is simple, yet brutal. If you don't know whose table you're sitting at, you aren't a guest. You're the main course. But the physical world isn't the only place where you're being hunted. There is a new, invisible plantation being built right in the palm of your hand, and you're likely logged into it right now. Have you ever wondered why the world's most powerful algorithms are free to use? Let's talk about the digital serfdom and how they are harvesting your soul through a screen.
You have spent the last 20 minutes staring directly into the sun. Most people will turn this video off, feel a temporary rush of insight, and then go right back to their comfortable cage. They will continue to pay their death pledges and scroll through the digital plantation until their time runs out. But if you are still here, you aren't like them. You are ready to make the first move. Breaking the cycle doesn't start with a grand explosion. It starts with a quiet, cold-blooded decision to stop being a resource. Look at your life right now. Are you building assets that work for you while you sleep? Or are you selling your heartbeat for a paycheck that barely covers your debt? The first move is simple. Stop feeding the predators. Turn off the notifications that harvest your attention. Cut the expenses that buy you the illusion of status. And most importantly, start building your own digital fortress.
Whether it's a niche blog, an AI-driven service, or a specialized skill that no algorithm can replace, you must own your output. Think about the sunken cost fallacy. Many Americans stay in soul-crushing jobs because they've already invested 10 years. That is a trap. The time is gone. Don't give them 10 more. The architect doesn't look at what they've lost. They look at what they can build today. The lesson is this: mastery is not found in the noise. It is found in the silence of consistent, focused work. Freedom isn't something you find. It's something you build, brick by brick, prompt by prompt, contract by contract. The hunt is on. The system wants you asleep. I want you awake. Welcome to the new era of the sovereign individual. If you are ready to stop being the meal and start being the driver, subscribe and join us. We are just getting started. I am the invisible driver, and now, it's your turn to take the wheel. If you believe slavery ended in the 19th century, you haven't been looking at your screen correctly. The chains haven't disappeared. They've simply become invisible, woven into the code of the apps you use every single day. Welcome to the era of digital serfdom. In the old world, a plantation owner required physical land and brute force to harvest crops. Today, the new elite, the architects of the Silicon Valley, don't need your land. They need your attention. Every time you scroll, every like you give, and every second you spend staring at a short-form video, you are performing unpaid labor. You are the digital serf, and your data is the new cotton. The algorithm is the apex predator of our time. It is a ghost in the machine that knows you better than you know yourself. It maps your insecurities, calculates your desires, and feeds you exactly what you need to stay paralyzed in a dopamine loop. This isn't just entertainment. It's a biotechnological harvest. They are mining your focus to sell it to the highest bidder, while your real life, your ambition, your relationships, your wealth withers away in the blue light. The lesson is cold. In a world where everything is free, your mind is the only thing being sold. You aren't connecting with the world. You are being processed by a system that thrives on your distraction. But why do so many of us stay? Why do the good people, the ones who follow the rules and pay their taxes, always seem to be the ones getting swallowed whole by this machine? It's because they've been sold a lie about morality. They've been told that being nice and loyal is a virtue, when in reality, it's just a way to make the prey easier to catch. Let's pull back the curtain on the morality trap and see why good guys are the preferred meal for the strong. Why is it that the most moral people you know, the ones who never break a rule, never complain, and always wait their turn, are often the ones struggling the most? It's because they've fallen into the ultimate extraction chamber, the morality trap. In America, we are raised on a diet of corporate fables. We are told that loyalty is a virtue and that working hard is the path to the top. But look at the reality of corporate America. Companies will look you in the eye and tell you, "We are a family," right up until the moment a spreadsheet tells them that firing you will increase their stock price by 0.5%. In that world, loyalty isn't a two-way street. It's a leash. It's a way to keep you domesticated while they extract your best years. The elite love good people. Why? Because good people are predictable. They are easy to manage. When you define your value by how nice or obedient you aren't being virtuous. You are being harmless. And in a world of predators, being harmless is a death sentence. True morality isn't about being too weak to do wrong. It's about having the power to be dangerous, but choosing to stay disciplined. The lesson you need to swallow is this: morality, as taught by the system, is designed to protect the system, not you. If your goodness leaves you broke, exhausted, and exploited, then it isn't goodness, it's submission. The strong understand that there is a massive difference between the stories people tell and the contracts they sign. While the poor are distracted by feelings and social justice, the masters of the game are speaking a different language entirely. They don't deal in promises or vibes. They deal in cold, hard structures. Do you know the difference between a promise and a contract? One is a tool for the heart. The other is a weapon for the mind. Let's look at the fine print and see how the elite use the language of law to eat the dreamers alive. The elite don't speak the same language you do. While the masses communicate in the language of promises, the masters of this world communicate only in the language of contracts. A promise is an emotional drug. It's what a politician gives you on a campaign trail when they shout about equity and hope. It's what a CEO gives you during a town hall when they talk about growth and shared success. Promises are designed to soothe your anxiety and keep you quiet. They are the anesthesia. But here is the cold truth. In the halls of power, a promise carries exactly 0 weight. Contracts, however, are the surgery. While you are distracted by the beautiful words on the news, the elite are busy drafting 2,000-page tax bills and trade agreements. They don't care about the vibes of a speech. They care about the fine print. Think about it. A politician might promise higher wages on TV to get your vote. That's the emotional language for the prey. But the same week, they sign a bill that creates a massive tax loophole for their biggest donors. That's the structural language of the predator. One is for the crowd to cheer. The other is for the elite to profit. One is a puff of smoke. The other is a steel cage. The lesson is this: stop listening to what people say and start looking at what they sign. If it isn't in writing, it doesn't exist. If it isn't a binding structure, it's just a bedtime story told to keep you from waking up. Quyền lực không nằm ở những lời hô hào. Nó nằm ở những dòng chữ nhỏ mà bạn quá lười để đọc. But even if you learn to read the fine print, even if you stop believing the lies, there is a deeper, more silent trap that has already been set for you. A trap that doesn't just eat your present, but consumes your future before you even live it. Do you know why the entire American economy is built on a foundation of red ink? Let's talk about the debt trap and how you've been sold into slavery one credit card swipe at a time. Most people think debt is a financial problem. It's not. It's a temporal one. Debt is the mechanism by which the elite harvest your future before you've even lived it. Think about the last time you swiped your credit card for something you didn't strictly need. In that moment, you weren't just spending money. You were signing a contract to sell the labor of your 50-year-old self to pay for the desires of your 25-year-old self. You are cannibalizing your own future. The American lifestyle is a beautifully decorated cage built on red ink. They give you easy credit, low down payments, and buy now, pay later schemes for a very specific reason. A man in debt is a man who cannot say no. You can't quit the job that's killing you. You can't start the business you dream of, and you can't challenge the system, because you owe the system your next 30 years of heartbeat. And then there is the silent thief, inflation. While you struggle to pay off the debt for things that are already breaking, the government prints more money, devaluing every hour you spend at work.
You are running on a treadmill that is getting faster, while the air you breathe is getting thinner. This is how the predator eats. They don't take your life all at once. They take it in monthly installments. The lesson is brutal. Every dollar you owe is a chain around your neck. The only way to stop being the meal is to stop feeding the beast of consumption. Sovereignty starts when you stop spending money you haven't earned, to buy things you don't need, to impress people who don't care about you. But as the old system of debt begins to crumble under its own weight, a new frontier is emerging. A frontier where the rules of the food chain are being rewritten by silicon and code. If you want to stop being a resource and start being an architect, you need to understand the new weapon of the awakened. Let's look at the AI frontier and how it's creating a massive divide between the new masters and the new resources. For decades, the border between the strong and the weak was drawn with blood, land, and gold. Today, that border is being redrawn with silicon and code. Welcome to the AI frontier. This is not just a technological shift, it is the most rapid restructuring of the food chain in human history. Most people look at AI and see a toy, a threat, or a way to write a better email. If that's you, you are already a resource. You are the data being fed into the furnace to power someone else's engine. The average worker in America is terrified that a machine will take their job. And they should be. Because in a world where efficiency is God, the human soul is an expensive overhead that the predators of the market are eager to cut. But for the few who are truly sober, AI is the great equalizer. It is the first time in history that a single individual can wield the power of a 1,000-person corporation. This is how you stop being the meal. An architect doesn't fear the machine. They use it to build their own matrix. While the masses are distracted by AI-generated entertainment, the architects are using AI to automate their income, reclaim their time, and build digital fortresses that no employer can touch. The lesson is simple. AI will not replace humans, but humans using AI will absolutely replace those who don't. You have a choice. Become the designer of the system, or become the fuel for it. If you aren't the one prompting the machine, you are the one being processed by it. But owning the tools is only half the battle. To truly exit the cycle of being eaten, you must change your fundamental status in this society. You must stop being a citizen of the machine and start being a master of yourself. So, how do you achieve true independence in an age of total surveillance? It's time to meet the only person who can survive the hunt, the sovereign individual. The only exit from a game where the rules are rigged against you is to stop playing by their rules entirely. You don't need a new master, you need to become your own. This is the path of the sovereign individual. To the system, you are a subject, a predictable unit of tax revenue and labor. But a sovereign individual is something else. They are a ghost in the gears. They understand that in the digital age, geographic borders are becoming irrelevant. While the masses are trapped in a single city, chasing a single paycheck, the sovereign individual operates globally. They earn in a strong currency, live where the laws respect them, and store their wealth in assets that no government can print away or freeze at a whim. Think about the specialized niche blogger or the AI tool developer living in a low-cost sanctuary while serving a high-value global market. They don't have a boss to eat their time. They don't have a corporate family to gaslight them. They own their distribution, they own their code, and they own their schedule. They aren't escaping society, they are outrunning the inefficiency of it. The lesson is this: Independence is not a gift. It is a technical achievement. It requires three things: mental sovereignty to see through the lies, financial sovereignty to buy back your time, and digital sovereignty to protect your output. If you depend on a single entity for your survival, be it a company or a state, you are a resource. The moment you diversify your dependencies, you become a master. But do not be fooled. This level of freedom is not for the faint of heart. Most people claim they want freedom, but what they really want is a more comfortable cage. Because true sovereignty comes with a terrifying shadow. It demands that you walk away from the warmth of the crowd and step into the cold silence of total self-reliance. Are you prepared for the psychological weight of being truly free? Because the price of awakening
Is a darkness that most men can't handle. Let's talk about the heavy burden of the sovereign soul. Most people want the prize of awakening,
but very few are willing to pay the invoice. Because the truth is, awakening doesn't feel like a sunrise. It feels like a funeral for the person you used to be. When you start to see the teeth behind every corporate smile and the extraction mechanism in every free service, you lose something precious: the comfort of the crowd. You can no longer participate in the collective hallucination. Imagine being at a dinner party or a family gathering. While everyone is arguing about celebrity gossip or the latest political theater, you are sitting there, seeing the chains. You see the debt in their eyes and the fear in their laughter. It's lonely. That is the darkness, the isolation that comes when you stop being a resource and start being an architect. But the heaviest weight is not the loneliness. It's the responsibility. In the Matrix, if you fail, you can blame the economy, your boss, or the government.
you get to be a victim, and victims get sympathy. But the moment you claim your sovereignty, you lose the right to make excuses. If you are broke, it's your fault. If you are exploited, it's because you allowed yourself to be exploitable. The lesson is this: the price of freedom is the death of the victim inside you. Total accountability is the only way to stay sober in a world that wants to keep you drugged on complaints and handouts. It's a cold, silent path. But once you embrace the darkness of responsibility, you realize something profound. You don't have to hate the predators, and you don't have to pity the prey. You just have to learn how to exist in the middle of it all without losing your soul. In fact, you can do more than just survive. You can build your own ecosystem. You can become the designer of a new kind of power, one that is both effective and ethical. Are you ready to stop running from the food chain and start building your own? Let's talk about how to build your own matrix and what it means to be an ethical predator. Ethical predator. To most, it sounds like a contradiction. We've been trained to believe that you are either a saint or a shark. But in the real world, a saint is just a shark's breakfast. To be truly ethical, you must first have the power to be dangerous, and then choose to stay disciplined. Building your own matrix means moving from the bottom of the food chain to the position of the architect. The solopreneur is the ultimate predator of the modern age. But they don't hunt people. They hunt inefficiency. They don't eat the time of employees. They eat the outdated, slow processes of the old world. Think about the independent software developer who uses AI to do the work of a 20-person agency. They aren't exploiting anyone. They are simply faster, leaner, and more intelligent than the legacy systems. While the big corporations are busy eating their workers through low wages and high stress, the ethical predator is busy building value. They create their own ecosystem, a niche blog, a digital community, a specialized tool, where they set the rules. In this ecosystem, your prey is the problem you solve for the market. Your territory is the digital space you own. By removing the middlemen and the corporate parasites, you keep 100% of the value you create. That is the only true way to be good in a world of greed. To be so effective that you don't need to steal from anyone else to thrive. The lesson is this: you don't have to be a monster to win, but you must be a monster to avoid being eaten. Build a life where you are the primary source of your own power. We've covered the anatomy of the trap, the lies of the system, and the tools of the sovereign. Now, there is only one thing left to do. The talk is over. The hunt is about to begin. Are you going to walk back into the crowd, or are you ready to make the first move to break your cycle? Let's talk about the final execution.